Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn move-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. I'm joined by a great crew today. I've got, of course, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Beside him, Chris Carr is back, ladies and gentlemen. Good to have you back, Chris. Sitting over there, joining you guys in the live chat, is Ray Ora. Beside him, of course, is producer Jonathan Voico running the show. And Alu Moana is here with us here today as well. And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for making this show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We break it into two parts. First half of the show, we talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second half of the show, we take your live comments and questions. If you got a live comment or question you'd like us to address in the show, number one, you got to be watching live. But number two, wait until we get to the end of the main topics, and then we'll announce that we're opening up the super chats. And when we do, that will be your time to fire in a thought, theory, question, or opinion, and we will address those in the second half of the show. But be ready with them, because we only leave the super chats open for just a couple of minutes. All right, guys. A couple of quick announcements here to let you guys know about. First of all, a little bit later today at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time, it's over. We have our Andor after show open spoiler discussion for the finale of Andor. That will be at 3 o'clock Los Angeles time a little bit later today. We hope that you will come by and join us for that. Also, going to let you guys know that for some reason, these frickin' freeloaders in this room here, they want Thanksgiving off. So Thursday and Friday, the crew has off, but I will still, because I'm the one who loves you, I will still be...
You're Canadian.
That's right. It's not even my Thanksgiving. So I will be doing the John Campea Show Thursday and Friday, but it's going to be a little bit more laid back because it's just going to be me solo, going back to the old days. And tomorrow, that's Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, I should say. I will be doing the John Campea Show at a special start time of 9 a.m. Los Angeles time. That'll be 12 p.m. New York time, and then back to the regular time on Friday. But again, Thursday and Friday will just be me. Tomorrow, special start time at 9 a.m. because, you know, we've got family doing Thanksgiving lunch, so we're going to do that. So if you guys need some excuse to get away from the family that's coming over for just a little bit, come on over and join me for the John Campea Show tomorrow. All right. With that all down, let's jump into some things. And we got some big things to talk about here today. And we're going to start off the top with this. You know, it's getting closer now. Avatar, The Way of Water, it looks like it's actually happening. It's actually going to happen. We've been talking about it
Says you.
I know. I mean, literally, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the first release date for Avatar 2 was initially supposed to be 2017. So 5 years ago. So here we are. The movie's coming. It might have even been earlier than that, but here we are. The movie is coming out. The final trailers aired. We're just in the final kind of countdown, the last couple of weeks before this movie opens. And, you know, a lot of the questions have been, how is this going to do? And it's fair to ask, how is Avatar going to do? Because the first Avatar is the biggest movie of all time, with $2.9 billion at the box office. It is the number one film in history. So a lot of eyeballs are going to be on the second Avatar. Now, I've said for a long time, I don't believe this Avatar is going to make $2 billion at the box office. Only 5 films have in history. I don't think this will be one of them, but it's going to make a hell of a lot of money. But how big of an opening will it have? Well, the headlines are now coming out suggesting that Avatar 2 is expected to make at least double what the first Avatar made in its opening weekend at the box office. This comes to us from the folks at CBR who write the following. According to Deadline, James Cameron's long-awaited sequel is currently tracking to open between 150 and 175 million. That's gone up a little bit because the early projections were a little bit lower than that, but they've now gone up to 150 to 175. However, some rivals are predicting that The Way of Water could hit 200 million in its opening weekend. A 150 million opening for The Way of Water could almost double the $77 million opening that the original had back in 2009. And I think that's the number that catches a lot of people by surprise when it comes up in conversation, is how big was the opening weekend of the all-time biggest film in history? It was $77 million, which is great. That's a big number, but it's not like Black Panther's 180, Spider-Man's 220, 230. I can't remember how much, right? The first one made 77. This one is poised to have a much bigger start. And it looks like those estimates, Rob, are nudging up just a little bit. I don't think that this one, I said this before, I still don't think Avatar: The Way of Water catches Black Panther's opening weekend. But, I mean, look, it is trending up a little bit. What do you make of these numbers?
Well, the numbers seem right in line with what I'd think, but here's the thing. Here's the undefinable quantity now. If this movie, John, brings that Cameron magic, and judging, the visuals are there, but we're still like, what is this movie about? We don't know. If this movie has the awe and wonder quotient in it, meaning if it is totally transportive to Pandora and people are astonished by what they see, and if this becomes must-see viewing for people in our strange, weird, post-pandemic universe that we all reside in, if this movie provides the joy and the wonder that the first movie had, I think all bets are off. But I have no, other than this is if the movie's good. If this movie delivers, it's going to be huge. And people are primed. I think this movie in particular, people are primed to see it. Mm-hmm. It just has to be great. If it's not, if it's not, I think, But if it is, if it's got that Cameron magic, and I always say never bet against Jimmy C. If he brings the noise, this movie could be huge, and I think it'll be bigger than 200 million. If it's good.
Right. And that and you know, word of mouth would have to get out fast.
Yes.
Like really fast. Just normally how good the movie is doesn't affect the opening weekend too awful much. It's normally about its longer legs. But with the earlier and earlier Thursday releases, I mean, if the word comes out that it's got that magic, like you said, people could then hop online and go, well, what's available for Saturday?
Now, let me ask you this. When does this movie preview? When are they showing this to critics?
Next week, I believe.
Okay. That's a telltale sign. 3 weeks before it opens?
I don't know when their embargoes are going to be at this point.
Right, but if they're showing it 3 weeks ahead of time, they know that embargo.
What's the actual release date for the movie?
The 16th, I think.
It's the 16th?
Yeah.
So we're from there, it'll be about 2.5 weeks once they see it.
Reactions are supposed to lift on the 6th of December, though. So like 10 days before it's out, people are going to be able to say how they feel about it.
Well, I mean, that shows that they've got confidence in this film.
They know what they have.
Chris, you're seeing these numbers thrown around. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the first movie had a very successful, but not what you call mind-blowing opening weekend. This one is going to have a very substantial weekend. How big do you think this could be?
I think really big. And I think it's going to have great legs, too. I think we're going to see a higher number than we did for the initial run of the first film, because there are people who are excited about this film, no matter what the internet says. There are people who are very excited about this film and want to see the spectacle of it. They are going to bring the noise and the funk, RMB.
That's
it's going to
right.
happen. They're going to bring it all. And I think it's going to do really, really well. You know, at CinemaCon, we were playing this game of when we were meeting people of, hey, what do you think is the biggest box office number for the year? Which movie do you think it's going to be? And, you know, I called Avatar then, and I'm standing by it now.
You know, John, also, you know who's going to love this release is IMAX.
Oh, my God.
Wakanda Forever did really well with IMAX. I'm sure the executives at IMAX are just like, yes. Yes.
Well, and if you ask James Cameron, good Canadian kid, by the way, if you ask James Cameron, like, if you could tell people to see it in one environment, what's it going to be? James Cameron will say IMAX 3D.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I mean, see, the first Avatar in IMAX 3D was astonishing.
Yeah, I won't be watching it in 3D, but I'm sure Ray will. Ray will be very excited about
I'll go
watching
with
it
you,
in 3D.
Ray.
Yeah.
For what?
Avatar.
Never mind.
Would
Never
you-
mind. The show already in
We're-
progress. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. We're open
Ray's in there
mic.
busy already in the chat room there. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? They're saying this Avatar film will probably more than double what the original Avatar did in its opening weekend, but will it be enough? Whatever you guys think, however big or small you think it'll be, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's do another off the top, and that is this. You know, I'm hesitant to discuss this. Just so you guys know, I get people writing to me and texting me and messaging me all the time with news, right? And 9 times out of 10, I completely ignore it. Like I was, and that's it. Maybe 10% of the time I take it a little bit seriously. And maybe, you know, some of the time there's news that comes out. We've talked about on the show. There's news that comes out that I go, This is one of those things somebody wrote me about a few months ago, and I said, well, that's bullshit, and just threw it away, never talked about it. That happens. So this is one of those things, and we're going to be talking about Ant-Man Quantumania. This is one of those things that I initially kind of sidetracked in my head. I reached out to a couple of other pundits in the space just to see if they heard anything about it. And I said, you know what, we'll at least talk about it because it's interesting. It's interesting. So that is this. You guys will remember that a number of weeks ago, actor from The Good Place, William Jackson Harper, who we all like. We'll bring up an image of him here so you know who we're talking about.
Love him.
We like, what's his name on the show?
Cheaty. I love
Call him
him.
Cuddy.
Aragonge.
Who's great on The
So
Good Place.
good.
He's so good. And he plays that smart, nerdy guy so well that some people speculated when they first cast him, like, could he be Reed Richards? Because he's stereotyping, and there's not stereotyping, but
Typecasting, yeah.
Typecasting, stereotyping, he's definitely a far departure from what you would think about a Reed Richards, but typecasting. Yeah. It seemed like, so it was worth fun. I don't think anybody really seriously thought he was going to be Reed Richards at all, but still, we found out he's going to be in it. Well, I got a message the other day saying that William Jackson Harper is going to be playing Quasar, who is a little bit more on the obscure side of the Marvel characters. Rob, you're going to tell us a little bit about Quasar here in just a second. And again, one of these things I read, and I was like, yeah, sure. And just kind of, but I just thought, well, wouldn't that be interesting? So I talked to a couple of other pundits, 3 of them, 2 of which have not heard this. One of which said, I heard something about that, but I don't know if that's true or not. So at least one other pundit I know have at least heard this. So I thought it would at least be fun for us to get together here and speculate about this a little bit. For those of you who don't know anything about Quasar, he is he's a Marvel character. Rob.
Well, he is now. Wendell Quasar is actually a character that's been played.
Wendell Vaughn, right?
Yeah, he's the modern Quasar. Quasar is a character that is powered by the quantum bands that were created by.
That sounds a little familiar.
That were created by Eon, and the wearer cannot take them off. They're like part of you, and there have been different characters that have played. There have been different entities that have taken on the mantle of Quasar, but you're a protector of the universe. That's what Quasar does. But all of his power comes from the quantum realm, and those bands are pretty familiar. If not, maybe not in that picture,
not the way they're depicted right now.
But it makes sense to me that if the thing about the Quasar character now, he's a human character. He's been aliens in the past and other characters. But what I find fascinating about this character is kind of involved on the celestial side, kind of the big from the big gun side of the Marvel universe, the very powerful side. Maybe he's not in cahoots with Kang, but maybe keeping Kang at bay or something, and that there's something going on there between these two. Like Quasar would be somebody that I would think that Kang would have to surmount, be an obstacle that Kang would want to either remove off the playing field or they are in opposition. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it's going to be very interesting because if Quasar's in the movie, it means that hopefully we'll see more of the Celestials or the involvement of, Eon. I don't know how they're going to depict Eon, but how are they going to? They did sort of an interesting thing within Thor. The anthropomorphization of these ideas. We saw it as a place, not Eon, but we saw, Thor going to a place as opposed to a thing. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to do that, it could be really interesting. It made me, when you told me about Quasar, I'm like, how would that work? But, obviously, does that mean that Captain Marvel's powers come from the quantum realm? Does Miss Marvel's power, do the Bindles, the band, what is it?
The Bangles.
The Bangles,
yeah.
Are those all powered by the quantum realm?
Yeah, we know Captain Marvel is from the
Kree.
And the Infinity Stone, right?
Right.
She got her power from that Infinity Stone.
But is it all
Is it all? Yeah, that's.
connected?
And by the way, we did while there
the
have
10
been,
rings?
that's where a lot of people are going to start wondering, right? Now, you mentioned that there have been different entities that have taken on the mantle of Quasar. What I was told was that it was the Wendell Vaughn
Yes.
iteration that would be that would be the Quasar that they would be doing on this one. Chris, you hear about this? Do you think this is a character that could fit into what we're seeing with Ant-Man? Does this make sense, or do you think it'd be something else entirely?
Oh, I think this makes so much sense because of the bands, because it is something that he gets his power from that, and it seems to tie in with all these other characters, ties in perfectly with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really, really enjoy this. Plus, Wendell has this really great moment of being just a sad boy in the comics, where he's really disheartened with what's going on in his life. He didn't have the kind of killer instinct to be a SHIELD agent.
Right.
So he goes home back to Wisconsin, just hangs out with his mom, plays guitar, and is a sad boy. And I love
Your regional dialects are so tight.
Thanks. And I just keep thinking about when Chidi made chili and was just losing his mind on The Good Place and was like, everything is pointless, so I'm just going to make this chili with marshmallows. And I feel like that's the energy I want with Quasar.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Hearing whispers that Jackson is going to be playing, William Jackson is going to be playing Quasar. Do you think that would make sense to you? Maybe it's a character, probably a lot of you have never even heard of the character before, but it sounds like there are some narrative ties, or maybe this is just another BS rumor going around. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? What would you think? Do you think it could be real? Whatever your thoughts are, jump into the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's do one more off the top here, shall we? And that is this. Okay, so I don't know if you've heard, but there's been a bit of a shakeup over at Disney.
What happened?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard about this.
Is Bob Chapek okay?
No. I heard he got demoted.
Oh, no.
Yes, he's now the cat keeper of Disney. You know how at Disneyland every night they let out 1,000 cats to go and hunt down mice? That's so he's now officially, Bob Chapek is now the cat keeper. Bob Iger's in charge of Disney now. I don't know if you've heard that. But what is interesting is there are major trades, right? Major trades have been writing. Granted, this is speculation, but this is not speculation coming from, hack sites like the John Campea YouTube show or whatever. This is coming from the major trades. That the speculation right now is that Bob Iger came back to get the house in order and to sell Disney to Apple. That's what these are. That's something that The Wrap right now is writing. Let me read this for you here. Now that Disney CEO Bob Iger has regained the keys to the Magic Kingdom less than 3 years after his chosen successor Bob Chapek took over, insiders suspect that they know how the beloved executive will find a new way to go out on top during his final 2-year stint. He's going to sell the company, one insider reported to us, who has worked under Iger, and predicted this is the pinnacle deal for the ultimate deal maker. So now look, you're talking about Bob Iger. Bob Iger is the deal maker.
The deal maker.
He's the guy who acquired Star Wars. He's the guy who acquired Marvel. He's the guy who acquired Pixar. He's the guy who acquired Fox. He's the guy who launched Disney Plus.
Can you imagine what his commission would be with that sale?
I don't know if as CEO you work on commission, but
I don't know.
But he's a
It's like a
major
finder's
Apple
fee.
shareholder too.
There's some finder's. Yeah, there's some finder's fee.
Now listen, let me tell you why here you should be dubious of this. All right. The main reason you should be dubious is that it's not, Bob Iger doesn't get to decide if Apple gets sold or if Disney gets sold or not. That is the decision of the board, which Bob Iger is no longer on. Bob Iger, during his main reign at Disney, he was both CEO and chairman of the board, which meant his power was unquestioned and untouched. Now there is a new chairman of the board that worked under him, as a matter of fact, for many years, and he is CEO. So Bob Iger doesn't get to decide whether or not Disney gets sold or not, okay? Let's be very clear about that. That being said, that doesn't remove the possibilities that maybe one of the reasons the board brought, and again, this is where we're getting into the area where The Wrap and Variety are getting into speculation here, okay? One of the reasons the board may have chosen to bring Bob Iger back is because maybe the board is keen on selling Disney. And who better to broker the deal than the greatest deal maker in the business, in Bob Iger? Now, one of the other things that makes this plausible, I'm not saying believable, I'm saying plausible, is this. You may be thinking to yourself, John, Disney is expensive. Because Chris, you looked up the value. What's the valuation of Disney right now as a company? They are worth how much?
$178.6 billion. Billion.
178 billion dollars.
Yeah.
Who the hell has $178 billion? I'll tell you who does. Apple. Because while Disney is worth $178 billion, isn't that adorable, says Apple. They're worth 2.3 trillion.
What?
Yeah. Everybody just soak in that for a second. Apple is worth 2.3 trillion.
Sound the Allen horn.
So you are literally talking about a company that is worth what? 15x?
Yeah.
They could literally buy and sell Disney 15 times over. For Tim and company, that would be like an executive lunch. Whatever. Yeah, cut the check. It's really not that big because remember, Disney, what was Disney's market cap? I think Disney's market cap was somewhere in the neighborhood of their market cap was around the $90 billion mark when they bought Fox. And they were not worth 10 times what Fox was worth at the time. So financially speaking, this is something that could happen without too much terrible trouble. And, Apple has been showing, again, I'm just sitting here right now making the case that if you want to believe this story, I'll make the case for you. So it could be something that the board is looking at. Apple is worth more than probably about 15 times what Disney's worth. They could easily buy them without breaking a sweat. Apple has shown in the last number of years, they are very keen in expanding into the entertainment vertical. They launched Apple TV Plus. They're now producing movies with Martin Scorsese. I mean, they have shown they're very active in this thing. Also, if you want to make another argument for you, if you want to believe this, Apple and Disney have a very long history and a lot of connective tissue between the two companies. But when you talk about Bob Iger, you're talking about a major shareholder. I think he is the most significant individual shareholder of Disney. He's also a very significant shareholder of Apple. He's the ultimate deal maker. And if you did want to sell Disney to Apple, he's the guy to do it. I don't think there's any dispute about that. He's the guy to do it. First, you got to get the ship in order, raise the value as much as you can, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you right now, I don't know that I believe this story. I could see Apple being interested in buying Disney. I could see there being interest there, again, because of their desire to get into the entertainment vertical. But Disney's Disney. I mean, so while there's enough stuff here that would make me go, okay, I could see that happen. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I don't think that's what's happening here. Although, I mean, it could be very plausible. Chris, you see this, the concept of Disney being bought. I mean, it's an odd one. When you look at it, what are the arguments for it, against it? And then ultimately, do you think this is actually real?
I mean, the biggest argument for it is just the numbers that we just went through. It would make sense. It would make great financial sense, especially because we're seeing that little tick in the stock at Disney increasing right now. So it is something a little more desirable than it has been, right? It's got all that great IP. They own everything else, and Apple can't afford it. And they definitely want to be one of the bigwigs in streaming, and they have been. Their content has been amazing lately. The thing going against it is I'm trying to figure out a world where the House of Mouse does not own itself. I was a Disney intern, and no matter what job you have at Disney, you all go through the exact same training. It is a culture. It is a very much like from the ground up, we all are the same kind of workforce here. And I'm wondering how shareholders and board members would feel, aside from the financial gain, of maybe losing that part of their company's identity. I feel like they really like being in control of themselves. But, I mean, at the end of the day, cash usually wins.
I mean, and the other thing too is the one question I have as well is while I see Apple wanting to get into the entertainment vertical more and get more invested there, they clearly have a future there.
Yeah.
Do they want to be in the theme parks business? Do they want to be in that business there? But plus, Rob, at the end of the day, the ultimate responsibility of the board is their shareholders. And if they can make their shareholders a lot of money, I mean, I don't know. You hear this. What are the points in this whole thing that are standing out to you the most?
Well, one, I don't think this would ever happen. I don't think it benefits Apple at all. Because if they want to get into the entertainment vertical, they can do whatever they want. They already have more money than, why would a technology company that's worth, what is the market cap, over $2 trillion?
Yeah, I think it's around 2.3
The only
trillion
thing
right
that the acquisition of Disney would make, the only thing that would bring Apple is a big pain in the ass. Do they want to run cruise ships? And maybe they'll fill the cruise ships with Apple software. Wouldn't they make more money selling Apple equipment, Apple software to Disney already? Mm-hmm. I don't see that this makes any sense at all for Apple as a company, because a lot of what Disney does is so far removed from what Apple does.
Yeah, we all forget Disney is more than just that entertainment vertical.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you've
the theme
got,
parks,
there's,
the cruises,
and apparel,
merchandising out the ass.
And Apple's like, we can buy here's a new iPhone. We just made more money than you made in 10 years. Or more profit. And I think that there's no advantage at all for Apple to buy Disney, other than the fact that they could say it gives there is so much with Apple. They're like manufacturing technology. That's all they do. And I think the reason that they have stuff on their streamings, that they're making entertainment, is because that's just an extra added bonus for the stuff. Watch our content on our phones, on our computers, on our monitors, whatever. And it's fun for them. They can make movies and they can spend enough money that they can hire the best people. Oh, we're going to make a movie, but we're going to get Martin Scorsese to make a movie. And we're going to spend $200 million on it. And you know what? No one cares, because we can make that in an afternoon if they need to, or whatever. So there's no reason for them to buy Disney. I don't see any upside at all, unless they have a long-term strategy that I'm unaware of, or that we're all unaware of, that makes it. I just think it's a business that is not theirs.
The one argument, because I agree with you, I don't think this is going to happen. I agree, but let me play devil's advocate for a second. Apple's history is a history of identifying something they want to be in and buying out somebody else who's already doing it.
Yeah,
that is the Apple way. I mean, of course, they innovate, they do a lot of stuff, but if you go through their history, there's a lot of their technology says, we want to do that, so we're going to buy these guys who are doing it now. And so that's the one thing I would say, that if they really want to get seriously into the entertainment vertical, and they've made some great strides themselves, but they lag far behind, a lot of the other major players right now. Buying Disney becomes kind of a no-brainer for that if they were dead serious about wanting to get elevated in the entertainment vertical. It could also be, depending on the culture of it, you have a Tim Cook who's like, man, if I was the man to bring Disney into the Apple family, that's my legacy right there. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
I just don't see what the advantage to Apple it would be. I mean, if they wanted to have a cruise line, they'd build the Apple Cruise, and they'd build the ships from scratch.
Why do that? Why do that? It's the same reason why they buy a lot of other smaller technology companies. Why do that when that's been done and we can just acquire it? I mean, there is an argument to be made for, and again, I'm saying this is somebody who agrees with you.
But the smaller technology is something they buy and they can integrate into their own product. Mm-hmm. Whereas I don't see where is acquiring Disney, other than the fact they can say they own it. It's way afield of their core business.
Again, it all depends on an X factor we don't know.
Right.
How
exactly.
serious are they about wanting to dominate the entertainment vertical?
But they have so much money that they can do whatever they want already in the entertainment vertical if that was their desire.
But they would still want to do it the most financially expeditious and most financially efficient way.
I think if Apple was going to buy anybody, they'd buy Paramount or buy Sony or buy somebody that...
Well, why would you buy them when you can buy the better company.
Because Disney's got too much stuff that they don't need.
I mean, that's true. That was the big question for me, right? It's like, do they want to be in merchandising?
No.
Do they want to be in cruise lines? Do they want to be in theme parks? Do they want, do they want to be in ESPN? Do they want, and that's the reason I just don't think this is.
So I just think they could, yeah, that's true. But I just think they'd create it. I mean, the thing about Apple is they create their own stuff. I mean, their own operating systems, everything. And that's both for technologists, there's a lot of pros and cons in that. I just can't see them buying Disney.
Again, it all depends what's going on behind the door.
But then again, Bob Iger could probably make them believe that they need Disney.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bob Iger could sell, what are they called on Pandora? Navi?
Mm-hmm.
He could sell them
Unobtainium.
bottled water. Bob Iger could sell the Navi bottled water. I mean, that's just what he could do. Anyway, guys, question is for you.
Bathwater.
What do you think about these reports going around that apparently the board would like Bob Iger to sell the company to Apple? I don't personally buy it, but I could see why somebody would believe it. And maybe it does. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Whatever those thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right. When you're talking about big business, you're talking about razor thin margins, which is what the hair on your balls should be. That one work? We want to thank one of the sponsors of our show here today, our friends at Manscaped. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Manscaped. This holiday season, I'll be giving thanks to our friends over at Manscaped. Everyone loves turkey and stuffing, but you'll be looking like dessert with the help of Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have blessed you with the ultimate Thanksgiving dinner topic. Tell your in-laws about your new cutting-edge ball trimmer and gift yourself or the man in your life the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Trim up your pumpkins by going to manscaped.com and use the code Campea for free shipping and 20% off. And this year I am so thankful for Manscaped because like most of you guys, I used to use Neanderthalic Dark Age methods to trim my balls. Not anymore, thanks to Manscaped. It's time for all of us to give thanks to Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, or as I like to call it, the perfect package for your package. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. The heart of the package, their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the promo code Campea. Be thankful this holiday season for the best gift of all from Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped for being a sponsor of this episode of the John Campea Show. Was that a good segue? Anyway, with that down, guys, Alou, what do we got up next here?
Next up is our Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. To have your question heard on the show, you're going to go ahead and give us a call at 951-268-4259 and leave a message. Today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day comes to us from Kyle, who's asking about some of the more mature Marvel content.
Hey, John and crew, this is Scal from North Carolina. Like yourself, John, I was happy to hear Bob Iger was returning as CEO of Disney. But one major question I have for you guys is, based on Disney Plus, we have Deadpool, Logan, the Defenders, more of the mature side of Marvel. And given that we're getting Deadpool 3 and we're getting Daredevil and other characters for more mature ratings, do you think Bob Iger will change the way Disney Plus has formatted R-rated stuff, or do you think they'll keep it on there? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, thanks a lot for calling that in, Kyle. You know, I think the number one question I got from a lot of people when they found out Iger was returning was, what's going to happen with Kathleen Kennedy? The second biggest question I got from a lot of people was, what's going to happen with the more mature content there? Because since Bob Iger left, one of the transitions that we saw and one of the changes that we saw under Bob Chapek was the willingness to embrace a little bit more mature content, putting things on Disney Plus that maybe Bob Iger would not have greenlit to go onto Disney Plus and things like that. This was one of those changes of philosophy and direction I didn't have a problem with. I mean, it's not necessarily the decision I would have made, but I have no problem with that. It was a different philosophy, new leader, different philosophy. So the question becomes, now that Bob Iger is back, what happens with the content that Disney Number one, creates, and then number two, puts out on Disney Plus. Because while Bob Iger was still there, I don't think we could have imagined Disney Plus putting R-rated content on the platform. And of course, now they do. Will that ultimately change now that Iger's back? Will something like, Deadpool be taken off? Will something like the original Daredevil that was on Netflix be removed and put it over to, will it get shuffled over to Hulu instead? Where actually I always thought it made more sense for it to be on Hulu, but that's just me. Could they make changes like that? My first thought to it is, I don't think you're going to see Bob Iger change any of that. I think you won't see new, more mature stuff popping up on Disney Plus, but anything that Chapek brought over, I have a feeling what's done is done. They'll just leave it there. But I don't know if they'll continue down that direction with that. I mean, a lot of people ask me, well, John, what about the TVMA Daredevil they're going to do? They never said they were going to do the new Daredevil Born Again series TVMA. That was never going to happen. So certainly under Iger, that won't happen. Because Iger and Feige have made very clear in the past that neither of them have any desire to do R-rated content, except, and they said this specifically, except for Deadpool. Deadpool will be their exception. So I don't know, Rob, when you look at it, I mean, we've seen Disney Plus do a little bit of evolving over the last few years when it was under Chapek. Do you think these are changes that Iger will roll back? Do you think he'll continue to go with it? Do you think he'll just leave well enough alone the way? I don't know. What do you think the approach is going to be here?
Well, I think that Disney needs a diversity of entertainment if they're going to compete in the streaming space. It can't just be for kids. And I think that if anything, maybe they'll add stricter parental controls, or they'll
which they've already done.
Yeah, they've done that, or they'll keep doing that, make them even more robust. Because they just can't. I mean, the thing about Disney is it can't be the streaming service that's for families, and then you graduate out of it. You matriculate out of Disney Plus. They don't want that. I mean, that would be kind of weird. But again, I don't think that Bob Iger is going to want. You can't be like a 10-year-old kid and go from an animated series to watching Deadpool. They're not going to want that either, because then parents are going to get pissed. So they've got those parental controls, but I could see it becoming more robust, or doing something like, they have in foreign countries like Disney Star or something. It's called, where that's where their adult content is. I could see
it's
them,
actually like a section on Disney Plus.
Yes, I could see that bifurcation happen, where it's all available. You can pay for it and get what you want. But because Disney can't afford to remain just a family streaming service, it's got to have more stuff to compete. So I think that maybe he'll do some of that, but they're not going to stop making material for adult audiences.
Mm-hmm. Have they ever made material for adult audiences?
Well, I mean, what's really interesting about Disney was, remember, you had Hollywood Pictures and Touchstone.
Back in the day,
So Touchstone was PG-13. You had Splash, PG-13, and then R with Hollywood Pictures, you had things like Ruthless People and Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Where are those movies on physical media? But it's almost like they want to forget that they did that.
Yeah,
where's Blood In, Blood Out?
They haven't done that for a long time.
No, they haven't done it for a long time, and it's weird that those movies are kind of unavailable. It's almost like, I just want Blood In, Blood Out in 4K. Can I have that Touchstone? Come on, please, give it to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a bootleg version on YouTube because it's there, but I do think that they will eventually be doing that. They're going to have to compete.
Chris, we see that. I mean, we've speculated before that maybe what they do in other territories where they take Star, put it as a section on Disney Plus, and that's where all the content that is under Hulu here goes, that maybe Hulu becomes a section of Disney. I don't know. With Bob Iger back now, do you see them doing any sort of a change of a direction, maybe rolling it back, maybe continuing moving forward? What do you think is going to happen here?
Well, this is one of the few things that I think Bob Chapek did well on, honestly. There was this interview back this last October with the Wall Street Journal where he talked about, I want to be respectful of the brand, but I think we all might be a little too precious with this, and our consumer base doesn't have these strict guidelines like we do about what is or is not Disney programming. And if they have that kind of elasticity, maybe we should too. And I thought that was very insightful. And I think we have seen more mature shows within the existing IP. Andor comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
Well, when we think of mature content or things that maybe aren't family friendly, it doesn't mean like slasher films or gratuitous sex. It could just be something that is a bit more highbrow or a bit more PG-13 because there is more violence or thrill or suspenseful moments. Things are rated for a reason. reasons of all kinds, right? So I think that Bob Iger would continue to at least have these things exist as they are. Maybe we won't add too many more. Maybe we're not going to go buck wild on this, but he's one of the people who approved that Deadpool should remain rated R. So I think he knows that, forwards ever, backwards never.
All right, guys. Question is for you.
Thanks.
What do you think is going to happen here, particularly with Disney Plus, but maybe with Disney's content overall, Marvel, Star Wars? Do you think they could continue marching towards a little bit more mature? And when we say mature, we don't necessarily mean anti-children, like kids. It's completely inappropriate for kids. But do you think they'll continue that way? Do you think they'll maybe roll it back? What do you think they're going to do with this? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move into our main topics here today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics? That's where we need you guys, because you guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you guys come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Alou, what is our first main topic today?
Main topic number 1 comes to us from James Lockman, who says, Aloha, John and crew. Well, episode 2 of Andor has
12.
12 of Andor has finally aired, and OMG, the tension was through the roof. This episode was a great way to cap off season 1. John, I know you've been saying that you keep waiting for Andor to have a weak episode, but with great writing like this week after week, I think you're going to be waiting a long time. I love The Mandalorian, but I gotta say, I think Andor is way better. They've been able to build tension, excitement, and tell a story through dialogue or even just a simple look. Your thoughts?
So sadly, last night was the finale of Andor. And it's going to be the last Andor we get for a couple of years, unfortunately. But this show has been nothing short of remarkable. I remember after I watched the first bunch of episodes, the first reaction to it that I said to people is that this does not feel like a Disney Plus show. This feels like an HBO show. And I meant that in every best way possible. And I've been feeling this way through it. And now that the season is done, I can now say, I believe this is the best Star Wars that has ever been on television. And it's not just because it's more mature or anything like that. The storytelling is the best storytelling. The character development is the best character development. Just the way the world building, actually. They've done world building in this show that I think has been a desperately needed dimension of the universe of Star Wars for a long, long, long time. The writing is the best writing we've ever seen in televised Star Wars. This and the characters, oh my God, the characters are just the dialogue and the way they can build tension through looks and dialogue and exposition. And it's just been, I've had my heart pounding as much watching two people standing still in a scene as I do watching, a Formula One race car going by. It has been absolutely remarkable. And this episode, while we're not going to get into any specific details to give away any spoilers or anything like that, for that, come on back at 3 o'clock Los Angeles time for our Andor after show. We look forward to seeing you there for that. But there's a moment here where Luthen is standing and looking at events unfolding.
Dude.
And it's for the first time he sees what rebellion looks like, right? The manifestation, the coming together of what the reckoning we've heard in the marketing, all that kind of stuff, coming that I felt my heart pounding in my chest as all that is going on. Again, it's so difficult to talk about elements of the show without giving spoilers away for the episode last night. I will say this though, as fabulous as this final episode was, and I loved it, and I was gripped every step of the way. And again, it was a side of the Star Wars universe during the Imperial era that we have never seen in Star Wars before on the movies or on TV that was desperately needed. But I will say this. The ending frustrated me.
Really?
And I'll tell you why. The ending of the episode last night did not feel like the ending of the season. It felt like the ending of an episode. Like the way this show ended, it felt like, Well, come back next week to see what happens next. It felt like just the end of any other episode. And it was a good ending to an episode. But, I always talk about, and not every show can be Supernatural, but I love Supernatural. And one of the things that I loved about Supernatural was the way they structure their seasons is that every year is the same. They get to the end of a season. They give you a wrap up, a conclusion of what this was. They really wrap up what the story of the whole year has been, and they wrap it up and then introduce what's coming next year, what the next story is going to be, right? They give you a little hint as to what's going to happen next. And this one just kind of ended, and it just felt like the screen went black, and I'm like, that can't be it. Oh, and there is a post-credit scene. First time in any Andor episode, just so you guys know, you got to get through a bunch of the credits, but there is a post-credit scene, and it is significant, and you should check it. Make sure you watch it.
On many different levels.
On many different levels, it's significant. Again, it's talked about a lot more in our open spoiler discussion later. But other than that, the ending that I found frustrating, especially that's not what you should leave us on for 2 years while we wait for the next episode. That being said, I thought it was fabulous. I thought philosophically, it really brought the whole mission statement of the Andor series right to the forefront. I loved it. Rob, you had a chance to watch it. What did you think?
Oh, I thought this was masterful television. I mean, what's really interesting from a producing standpoint, they bring this full circle from the first 3 episodes to now the last 2. And I was thinking about it from a production standpoint. You know how we've watched these shows with one of the big disappointments I had of things like Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan is just how lackluster they seem from a production standpoint. I felt like, wow.
Yeah.
This show, like I can only imagine. So the way TV shows are made is they amortize their costs across however many episodes there are. So there were 12 episodes of this show, and 5 of them take place on Ferrix. So I can only imagine that when they're thinking about, because you have feature film people making this, going, okay, we're going to spend our money building an actual build, a location, these city streets and everything, because we have a way to use them. So they amortize those costs. Say they spend $4 million times 5, which is how they're able to build this. And they take the show and they bring it from the beginning all the way to the end. The use of that set in this episode was one of the most effective uses of, it's both a build and sure they've got extensions and all that. I was mesmerized by how, I mean, this turns into Les Mis.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, this is Les Mis.
I'm watching this and I'm thinking the people, I wish, here's my frustration with the show. I wish the fans had more of a broad base of knowledge of something like Les Mis to understand what they're doing on this show.
I could hear in my head, as we're not going to say what the scene was, but as the scene was happening, all I could hear in my head is, can you hear the people sing the song?
I was sitting there. I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, this is so great. And all these people, well, Rob, I find this show slow. I'm like, because your broad base of knowledge of pop culture is a little limiting. Don't watch Star Wars. Read goddamn comics. Go watch some musicals. Go watch. If you knew. And first of all, it's not just watching Les Mis, it's liking Les Mis and understanding what that story's about. And it's frustrating to talk to people about this show who I'm like, you have never seen or understood half the things this show is drawing upon. And by the way, this is not a personal criticism of all of you. It took No, it is not. Look, I hadn't seen Les Mis until later in my life.
You're way too goddamn limited. No offense.
But it's frustrating to hear people who it's the difference between knowing how to read and being literate. This is a show that requires its audience to understand where it's drawing upon things from. And if you don't, and I can understand, it's lost on you. And it's not but I'm watching this and I'm thinking this is a marvel that they got this show made, because it's assuming a lot from its audience and it expects the audience to come up to its level. And this final episode, I was shocked at some of the things that they were doing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God. And I couldn't believe it. And I read this you sent out a Rolling Stone article that I hadn't read, which was a review of this episode that talked about how the one thing about the show that was a letdown overall is that Cassian Andor is kind of a passive character. We are, the audience, is Cassian Andor. If you look, he spends a lot of the time watching things happen. And they bring this up. We're Cassian. This show is
Cassian's our vessel through the story.
And so we are all in the position of Cassian. If you needed to understand why you personally needed to join this rebellion, this show will tell you. And by the end, I mean, I'm like, I get it. I'm like, okay, I am Cassian Andor. And
I'm Cassian Andor.
I'm Cassian
Yeah, that's right.
Spartacus.
That's right. No, but John, I thought the show, and I have to disagree with you because I think what you're talking about the not the post credit scene, but the ending of the show,
ending, yeah.
seemed a little bit of like. But I thought what happened in the entirety of the episode was really the
I agree. The entirety of the episode was great. And by the way, one other thing I should point out. Again, we're not going to go into details, but of course, it's understood that not in television history since Pam and Jim, has there been a couple that the audience has wanted to ship more.
Oh my God!
Than Deidre and Cyril. And like, all I'm going to say is watching it, and Anne's like, sometimes there'll be these awkward moments, and Anne will go like, we'll just be sitting there watching it, and Anne will just go, kiss.
Yeah.
Right? So we're sitting, I'm going to swear, we're sitting there, and Anne is like, like there's a scene that's happening, there's this tension, and all of a sudden, Anne out of nowhere is like, fuck.
Dude, I gotta say, somebody texted me and said Cyril has become the ultimate simp lord, and I'm like, that's exactly what he's become.
Or no, it was this
Simp lord.
do sex.
I mean, and that's the thing. They took all the threads, all these characters, and brought it all back and tied it up into a neat little bow. And by the way, you know what this thing did the best? What? It made the Empire terrifying.
Yeah, well, there's an image, there's a visual image, and I won't give you the context of it at all. But there's an image that happens in the show that in any other time and any other circumstance, it would just be, it's a fun, but there's an image that happens in the show, and again, no context, of a stormtrooper falling from a window. But the way Gilroy and crew framed, set up, and shot the scene, that image became a snapshot representation of what was happening, not just in the moment, but what was happening in the galaxy. And anyway, I need to go over to you.
I'm halfway through because I go to sleep.
Normally watch it after the show on Mondays before the.
I watched some of it this morning while I was getting ready, though, and I'm just at the part where there's a flautist.
Yes, let's just say that. Which is not a phrase you ever thought you'd hear in Star Wars.
No.
Yes, it seemed
when it was happening, so I was like, hey.
Did you guys have a chance to watch the last episode of Andor yet?
I'm watching it after this.
I watched it. That was lit.
Taylor's happy with
Dr. Seuss, actually. Not going to spoil anything, but all the instruments are reminding me of Dr. Seuss.
Hell yeah, a little bit of the Clausen style.
Dude, and those stormtroopers were dead shots. There's no stormtroopers who miss in this show.
The whole fun stereotype of stormtroopers that doesn't happen here.
And the thing is, I thought the Empire was truly scary.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. Have you had a chance to watch the final episode, I should say, of Andor season 1? If so, what did you think about it? If not, you've got a bunch of hours to go ahead and watch that before our Andor after show at 3 p.m. today. We hope you guys will come and join us for that. So jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second topic today is a Wednesday regular now because, we were just talking about watching Andor. That's on streaming, and there's always new stuff coming on streaming. So this is our regular Wednesday of what's streaming next. And we're going to take a look at some of the big highlighted things that are coming out on streaming this week. And it's a little bit more of a limited offering, but some pretty high profile stuff here. So let's go over and look at what's streaming this week. We're going to start with stuff that's coming out today. Today on streaming. Coming out on Peacock, we have Pitch Perfect Bumper in Berlin. It is difficult for me to summon the phrasing and the words to express how not interested I am in this. And I'm a fan of Pitch Perfect. I'm a fan of it. wasn't so big on the last one they did, but I'm a fan of Pitch Perfect, but I totally forgot this was even coming out. They did talk about it a while ago. I forgot it was coming out. Anyway, a spinoff of the film series Pitch Perfect developed by Megan Amron and Elizabeth Banks, based on characters created by Kay Cannon, starring Adam Devine, so he was actually one of the regular characters in Pitch Perfect, one of the smaller ones, and Jamila Jamil, who is, of course, was just in She-Hulk.
Is Flula Borg in this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll watch it.
He is? I
I'll
didn't know
watch it.
that.
Yeah.
I'll watch it. I'm
Flula's supposed to pop
sold.
up.
Sold.
All right, again, so that is now out today on Peacock. So if you're a big Pitch Perfect person, of course, unfortunately, no Anna Kendrick, which is what I would be watching it for, not there. But if you are into that world, it's out on Peacock right now today. Also coming out today officially, we've been talking about this one for a while, looking forward to it. Wednesday is officially now out on Netflix. It follows Wednesday Addams' years as a student when she attempts to master her emerging psychic ability, thwart and solve the mystery that embroiled her parents, starring Jenna Ortega, Gwendolyn Christie, Catherine Zeta-Jones. So that is now, we've been talking about this one for a while. I think, I'm not a big Addams Family person. I'm admitting I'm not. But this looks great to me. And I'm not even a Tim Burton guy. I like a few Tim Burton things, obviously Pee-wee and stuff like that, but I'm not generally a big Tim Burton guy. But this looks great to me, so I'm looking forward to seeing Wednesday. All right, coming on Friday to Disney Plus, we've got the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Star-Lord, Drax, Rocket, Mantis, and Groot engage in some spirited shenanigans in an all-new original special created for Disney Plus. And you know, the first reactions to some of it, to Guardians of the Galaxy, have been coming out, the holiday special, and they're saying it's delightful. A lot of really good positive stuff. Again, I wasn't paying any attention to the holiday special, to be honest with you. I did not care about I love James Gunn. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. But I've been looking forward to Guardians 3, not the holiday special. And then the trailer came out. I'm like, all right, you got me. So that comes out this Friday, just a couple of days from now, on Disney Plus. Also coming out on Friday on Disney Plus is the Hip Hop Nutcracker. Mickey Mouse is one of the most enduring symbols in our history. Those three simple circles take on me virtually. Oh, that was the wrong description. Got put in there. That was for the
me. I did that.
That was for
sure.
the documentary series the other day. But the Hip Hop Nutcracker, again, 'tis the season, the Christmas season. We got these specials coming out. That comes out on Disney Plus, also on Friday. And then to wrap things up here, on Tuesday, coming to Hulu and not Disney Plus, is Planet Sex with Cara Delevingne.
I have no idea.
Sounds like it's going to be a very overpopulated planet.
Anyway, Cara Delevingne exploring big questions about human sexuality, examining issues including relationships, sex appeal, and the popularity of pornography. This is something that's in my calendar. So we will be watching this one on Hulu to see how this goes. Anyway, so that is the big stuff that's debuting, the new stuff coming out on streaming. Again, Pitch Perfect, Wednesday, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Hip Hop Nutcracker, and Planet Sex. Chris, what of these ones are standing out to you that you're paying close attention to?
Oh man, I'm really hyped. Planet Sex. Kara owns shares in a sex toy company, so she's the person to talk about this kind of stuff. I'm excited for that, honestly. She knows her shit. Guardians, I'm very hyped for because I love all the Christmas stuff. But Wednesday is probably the one I love most because I don't just love Tim Burton. I am a Tim Burton character. Look at me. I was made out of clay. That show looks fantastic. I didn't know about the psychic bit though. So that's the only thing now hearing that description where I was like, oh, it's a little Riverdale-y for me, but I feel like it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a cool time.
Rob, do you got one of these properties standing out?
I'm really excited for Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, look, James Gunn, he's pretty much batting 1,000 for me between Suicide Squad and Peacemaker and hopefully the 3 Guardians movies, but 2 Guardians movies. I'm a big fan of his. And this, like you said, it looked delightful. And I really want to know. I need to have this question answered. Will it be referenced that Kevin Bacon was in X-Men First Class? I want to know. Are they going to play that joke or are they going to not?
I want to know.
Lou, let me go over to you on this. So we got Wednesday, a new Pitch Perfect, the Guardians, Planet Sex, Nutcracker. Are any of these standing out to you that you were like, which on this list is like, this is the first thing I got to go watch?
Oh, Guardians, for sure. For sure. I just also love how I had no idea that Pitch Perfect spinoff existed until right this second.
Well, that's why what's next, what's streaming next is here as a segment. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about all this? And which one of these are the ones that stands out to you the most, that you are most excited about? I think for a lot of us, it's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy, but I got Wednesday's pretty high up there for me too. Anyway, whichever one you're excited about the most, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys, with that down, we're going to take a second and thank another sponsor of our show here today, our friends at DraftKings. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, should be your go-to when betting on the NFL this holiday season. With things like same-game parlays, easy and fast payouts, player props, and more. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. And check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Just go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same-game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, total points, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. Personally, I like the Rams to pull off a big upset win over the Chiefs next weekend. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code Campea. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with the code Campea. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And thank you to our friends at DraftKings for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, a lot of off-camera discussions going on. With that down, guys, let's move on to main topic number 3. Alu, what is our third main topic today?
Main topic number 3 comes to us from Valist Magnus, who says, "Hi, John. I think we all knew that CW wasn't exactly the best-run television network, but I don't know that any of us thought it was this bad. The Hollywood Reporter did a story showing that the network was losing $2 for every $1 they made. So they'd be making $400 million a year in revenue, but by the end of the year, they'd be showing losses of $400 million. How could a business carry on this way? What do you guys think?"
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in. And of course, some people are a little bit confused about what's going on with CW. Like, some people thought CW was just kind of shut down. No, CW is still a thing. It has the same owners. It's just that one of the owners, who was like a little tiny minority owner, is now the 75% majority owner of it. They bought a bunch of the ownership away from Warner Brothers and others. But Warner Brothers and others still have like 12.5% ownership each. But anyway, it's still there. It's still running. But because of the sale, right, the books come out. People are able to look at the books. And while all of us knew that CW was not the most profitable network out there, they make low budget shows, whatever, I don't think a lot of us understood how badly it was hemorrhaging money. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety, who wrote the following. From Hollywood Reporter. According to a Hollywood Reporter analysis of the financial statements that were included in Nexstar's latest quarter, that Nexstar is the company that now is the majority owner of CW, that were included in Nexstar's latest quarterly filings with the SEC on November 9th, the CW had revenue of about $100 million per quarter in 2021 through 2022 for an annual run rate of $370 to $405 million. That's what their revenue was. However, it had annualized losses between $300 million and $400 million. That means that $400 million they made was gone, and then another $400 million was gone. So the 2-to-1 ratio. In other words, for every dollar it took in, as many as $2 were flowing out. The CW has never turned a profit since being formed in 2006. The largest source of expenses for the CW was programming, and it acquired that programming from Warner Brothers and Paramount, making it economical for the joint owners. Now, to really highlight how bad of a situation this was and is. Now, first of all, most people in the industry are like, wait a minute, it's never been profitable?
Yeah.
So Warner Brothers and Paramount could operate CW also as a little bit at a loss because they could use some of that for tax purposes and tax shielding. Still, they never wanted it to be that bad. And here's how bad it was. Rob, let's say, I don't know, I'm going to sell you this bottle of aviation gin. The problem is it's used. I lick the cap a lot, and it's half drink. So I'll probably sell it to you for a discounted price. and you would buy it. Maybe I'd have to drop it to $2, maybe $4, whatever. But we'll find a price that works for you, right?
I can't call Mint Mobile and ask them to ship me a case of it.
No, unfortunately, we can't.
Okay.
What would not happen is in our negotiations for this John Saliva-drenched aviation gin bottle, is you cannot say, you can offer me, say you offer me $10, $5, $4, we'll figure out a price. What cannot happen is you can't come to me and say, hey, John, how about you give me $20 and I'll take that bottle off you. That is what happened with CW. Nexstar, who is now the de facto title owner of CW, they actually made $45 million out of this deal. In other words, Warner Brothers and Paramount ended up giving Nexstar $45 million to take the company off their hands. Now, again, it isn't as cut and dry as that, and the Hollywood Reporter article does kind of point out that it's a little bit more complicated than that, but they say at the end of the day, that's what it was. At the end of the day, when all the accounting is done, Nexstar actually got paid to take CW and to become the main owners of that. That's not good. That it's run like that. But again, it kind of highlights why then Warner Brothers and Paramount wanted to divest themselves of this thing. It gives them one less outlet and avenue to sell their content on. And it sounds like Nexstar is going to keep, the current CW programming for the next year, but then they're going to move on from that and acquire other programming. I don't know, Rob, you hear about this. What are the parts that stand out to you?
Well, at least we get another season of Riverdale, right? Or it gives new meaning to the I want my $2 back. But no, I think that this is something people don't understand, that it's not as easy as you might think to make money in the entertainment business. And this is a shocking example of why. It's not so easy and it's not so cut and dried. People keep this around, like you pointed out. It's not bad to always have a loss leader, tax loss, a way to defer your costs or whatever. But look, at the end of the day, what's really unfortunate is the budgets of these shows did not affect the fact that a lot of these creators are trying to make great programming. And great programming it's always beholden to the parent companies or who's paying for it, or aren't they making money. And we've reported on how many people watch CW shows. Not a lot. Some of those numbers are shocking compared to other shows.
Yeah, I think they said Stargirl, whereas, Yellowstone, for comparison, its debut episode had 12.1 million viewers, which is astronomical. I think Stargirl, the report we read, said it was an average of 250,000.
Yeah, I mean, look, the days of all of these shenanigans, the streaming world has really opened this up to there's a foundation of sand with a lot of this stuff. And we're going to see a lot more of this kind of thing, maybe not to this extent, but there's going to be a lot of things changing in our business in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Chris, there's a lot of information here, a lot of numbers being thrown around, but when you look at the CW situation, what aspect of this is standing out to you the most?
I mean, the operating at a loss this whole time is just kind of mind-blowing, but then it's not when you look at the numbers, right? There have been times where we've talked about this, where more people have collectively tuned into this show than The Flash.
It's really weird to think that way, yes.
Which is a major bummer in a way of like, oh, thanks for watching us, but also like they have like a whole budget and team of people doing things. Guys, they're really trying over there in Canada. Let them do it. They're making magic. I mean, this has been a long time coming, right? The writing's been on the wall for a long time. People have not been tuning into these shows. A lot of their programming is canceled after just one season or canceled preemptively before we even see the end product of things. Most of their flagship programming fizzled out too. Superman and Lois really is the only thing that's still kicking.
And isn't that getting moved over to HBO?
I believe so. And there's really just nothing worth watching on there anymore, except for Nancy Drew, which you can see January 6th with Aaron Cummings.
Yeah, so Aaron Cummings run starting out. And listen, let's not pretend. CW has had some incredibly big wins that will be considered, like Smallville. People love. I was just talking about Supernatural. I love Supernatural.
It had a great run.
I was never a fan of it myself, but Gossip Girl was a big culturally relevant show for a very long. I mean, they have had some very, very big. The Arrowverse, when it started, when Arrow was going and when Arrow and Flash were kind of in their height, they've had some really, really big wins. So it's not like it's been a a complete dumpster fire all the
No,
time.
but in the
right?
last few years, we've seen things just go downhill
Yeah.
in terms of programming.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this whole situation? Are you surprised to hear how much money CW was actually losing, that they were only making as much as they were? What stands out to you about some of the great things about CW? Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 4, shall we? Alu, what is our 4th main topic today?
Topic number 4 comes to us from Bright Dawn, who says, "Hey, Campea crew, you guys recently talked about how the prices of streaming has ended up being more expensive than the old cable packages
Yep.
were. Saw an article saying that Disney could be responsible. Looks like they're being sued for using the fact that they own Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN to artificially inflate the cost of all streaming TV services. This is huge and could shake things up a lot if they're found guilty. Do you think this could get the prices down?"
All right. Thanks a lot for writing that in, Bright Dawn. Look, I read this. I'll be honest with you. This is not something I'd ever considered. That Disney, I've always saw Disney owning, Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN as just a good, solid, collection of streaming platforms that they have. I never saw anything anti-competitive about it, anything like that at all. But this article and this fact this has come out in an article in the Hollywood Reporter have kind of made it look like actually this could be kind of sleazy. What's going on here when you're talking about Disney and how they're managing this. Anyway, this, to give us a little more context, this comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Write the following. The lawsuit pits YouTube TV subscribers who filed the lawsuit on Friday in California federal court against Disney. They point to business dealings that effectively grant the company, Disney, the ability to set a price floor for the market and push up prices across the industry by raising the prices of its own offerings. Since Disney acquired operational control, get this, this was stunning to me. Since Disney acquired operational control over Hulu in May 2019, prices across the streaming live pay television market, including for YouTube TV, have doubled, reads the complaint. This dramatic market-wide price inflation has been led by Disney's own price hikes for Hulu Plus live TV. The suit points to guidelines in Disney's contracts with live streaming pay TV competitors that require them to carry ESPN as a part of their cheapest bundle that they offer. The term effectively restricts the ability of Disney's rivals to provide an option that omits ESPN, cable's most expensive channel that Disney owns. Wow. So essentially, this is what the lawsuit is alleging. All right. They're alleging this, that Disney can set their prices for their streaming, and they have a live TV option with Hulu Live TV, and they can set a price for that TV service. The lawsuit claims that them doing that is an unfair advantage because they own ESPN as well, by forcing all the other live TV carriers, like say a Sling TV, or in this case, YouTube TV. I'm a YouTube TV customer myself. By forcing other carriers to include ESPN in their lowest option, their lowest pay option, like YouTube TV only has one, but still, in their lowest tier option, a channel that is, by definition, the most expensive channel there is. That means that Disney has effectively forced other streaming TV providers to have their cheapest option be significantly more, expensive, to be significantly more expensive than it would have been were they not forced to have ESPN as a part of that thing. And here's the reality. If you are a live streaming TV platform and you don't have ESPN, I know not everybody are sports fans, but if your streaming TV service doesn't have ESPN and the next guy's does, a lot of people are going to skip your service and go to the next guy. So they know that they have this monopoly and they force them to put it on their cheapest tier. And honestly, if this lawsuit hadn't come up, I never would have thought about that, because when I first heard about it, it's like, listen, Disney can run their business the way they want. If they want to set a price for their streaming platform, that's their business. And if other streaming platforms want to follow suit, that's up to them. But now reading the details of this, I actually think Disney could be in some trouble here. Now, this is interesting too, because it brings up another round of whispers going around the entertainment industry right now that maybe Bob Iger's trying to sell Disney to Apple, but the other one is Bob Iger's looking to sell ESPN out of Disney. That maybe Disney wants to get out of it. Again, this brings up a lot of different things. Chris, you read this report, you read this thing. Is there something here? Like, this could shake up the industry depending on what the court finds.
I mean, it really could, because initially going into this, because I am a person who is not interested in ESPN, I was like, well, who cares? They have an exclusive thing just for them. Isn't that what we want? Don't you, as a business, go, look at this thing I'm offering you that no one else has? But when you really look at it, that exclusionary issue is a problem. I mean, I think this lawsuit definitely holds water. It's just going to be interesting to see how it pans out, because then I think a lot of other companies are going to be in trouble about having like specific things only for them. I don't know how this all works, though. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not a great legal mind, and I'm just kind of confused by how all of it's, I don't know, going down. Because I just feel like looking at it in layman's terms, it feels like it's an okay thing to do. I don't know.
Rob, you're looking at this. How do you think this is going to shake
Well,
out?
I kind of feel like, I mean, you can't penalize. I think the real thing here is the fact that they're forcing, because ESPN is part of this bundle. They can't not sell something else without ESPN. If that's what I understand it to be. Well, is that necessarily like all of these other companies that are selling their service want to offer ESPN as part of it, but it's just more expensive. They can't do it. They're forced to pay this extra money, but then they just don't offer ESPN which means they can't offer Hulu and they can't offer anything else, which I get, but isn't that just a way of doing business? It's only unfair to the people that have to pay more.
But see,
Isn't
that's
it?
the thing. That's what
I'm
the laws
confused.
are in place for.
Okay.
Sure.
The laws are in place to protect consumers from predatory practices and from antitrust practices. It is important to know that this is specifically an antitrust lawsuit, where it's saying that they are breaking anti-competitive laws
Right.
by kind of manipulating. See, what you cannot have, there's a term here that you're probably familiar with known as collusion.
Yeah, of course.
Right? What YouTube TV subscribers bringing this lawsuit are essentially claiming here is that there is a singular de facto collusion happening where Disney is manipulating the prices of other competitors, which means that the customer and the consumer is being limited of choice of what they can do.
Sure.
And that would be looked at as anti-competitive.
But isn't it there? Look, Disney's locked into this, and they want you to buy their service because then you're going to get what you want. Why do they have to allow other competitors to even sell this at all?
No, they don't. But the competitors know that if they don't have ESPN, they're screwed.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Disney steps in and says, okay, now that we know we have you over a barrel, you can only have ESPN on your, say, Sling TV or other streaming service, YouTube TV. You can only have our service, ESPN, if you make it a part of your cheapest bundle, which means the cheapest bundle for the consumer is now no longer that cheap.
Right.
It forces the prices to go up, which means across the industry, as the article pointed out, in the last 2.5 years, the average price of TV streaming services has doubled. And part of that, according to the lawsuit, is because of this practice that Disney's put in place.
Okay.
I mean, I get that, but I still would say so. You know, I mean, that's business.
No, that there are very, very strict anti-competitive laws in place.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I would dare say that's, I mean, what they want to.
Here's what business is. Business is, you and I are selling blue cups. all
Sure.
right? Business is, you sell your cup for what you want to sell it for, and I sell it for what I want to sell it for. And I try to do business in such a way that I can sell it for cheaper than you and still make profit, right? And that competition is good for the consumer.
Of course.
What the SEC will say is not just business is that the three of us, say all three of us are selling blue cups, and we all say, you know what? How about keep it between us? I'll raise my costs by 15 cents. You can raise your cost by 15 cents, and you can raise your cost by 15 cents. And the customer doesn't really have an option here. Or
Now you're talking about our healthcare system.
yes, it is. Or like you have, because of a monopoly you have on certain things, maybe blue dye. You're like, okay, each of you guys who are using our blue dye, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make it so you have to buy my blue dye at this price, which will force the overall cost for blue cups across the entire market for all customers to go up and higher anyway.
Sure.
See, that's the stuff where the SEC says that's not just business, that's market manipulation. And that's where Disney could get in trouble here, depending on what.
It's
the
interesting
lawsuit
though,
turns out.
because ESPN is a service other people want to avail themselves of.
Yes.
But it's owned by Disney. So, if you want another company's product and add it to your own, you have to pay the piper.
But again,
I know.
there's laws about that, because that can become, for big corporations, that can become very predatory on,
I understand.
on customers. Really quick. So I don't know, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, at first I kind of looked at it and thought, well, this is nothing. But the more I read into it, I'm like, actually, this is kind of shady. And how do you feel about it? Maybe you feel like, hey, whatever, it's just business is business. Some people may look at this and say, this is totally one company manipulating the system that will ultimately cost consumers. I don't know. How do you see it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right. With that down, let's get into our fifth and final main topic today, shall we? Alou, what is our fifth main topic today?
Topic number 5 comes to us from Kyle Walters, who says, "It has been 3 days since Papa Iger came back to Disney, and just like that, Disney has a movie releasing in China after 3 years. Avatar 2 is releasing in China. OMG, shit just got real. As if Avatar wasn't already going to be the biggest movie of the year, now it's going to be even more bonkers. Current tracking shows it's going to open around $140 to $160 million opening weekend, and with good reviews, it will only go higher and higher. The movie might end up with close to what the original made domestically and $2 to $2.5 billion worldwide. How do you think this China release can affect Disney movies and the studio moving forward? And how much of an actual effect do you think Iger has for the China release? As we all know, Iger has great connections over there. Let us know your thoughts and bring on the filthy."
All right, Kyle, thanks a lot for saying that in. And yeah, so big news. This is now in the trades. It's being reported. This isn't some talk and speculation. It's done. Avatar, The Way of Water will get a China release. And how significant is that? And how much of a role did Bob Iger play in that? I'll be honest with you. I don't probably think Bob Iger had much of a role to play in this. This is probably something that would have had to have been in the pipeline for a number of weeks. Probably. Now, I'm not saying definitively Bob Iger didn't have anything to do with it, but it seems to me that he probably didn't have a lot to do with this. Now, how big of a deal is this? Well, to get how big of a deal it is or isn't, we got to look at the numbers. So this comes to us from the folks over at Deadline, who write the following. China has given a theatrical release to James Cameron's Avatar: The Way of Water. This is a big deal given the fact that China sidelined during the pandemic many Hollywood blockbuster films, specifically Disney Marvel movies. However, the first Avatar was a big grosser in China, earning, get this, just in China alone, more than $260 million between all of its re-releases, or 9% of the picture's $2.9 billion lifetime cume. The sequel to the highest grossing movie of all time will hit China day and date with US and Canada on December 16th. When the original Avatar movie was re-released in China in March of 2021, IMAX delivered 30% of the opening weekend's box office despite accounting for only 1% of Chinese screens. The total 2021 re-release of Avatar in China made $58 million on just a re-release. That's a ridiculous number. So how big of a deal is this? Well, not as big as some people think. Like, some people have this thought that, if it opens in China, it's going to make another $1 billion. Not quite. But when the re-release made almost $60 million, that $260 million that the first Avatar made in China, I think it's going to be bigger than that. I think you're talking about maybe a $350 million total. So this is the difference between a movie making $800 million and joining the $1 billion club at like $1.1 billion, something like that. Anyway, so I think it's going to be pretty significant. I still don't think it makes this movie a $2 billion movie. Again, now ask me after I see the film, maybe I'll change my tune. But for right now, I still don't think, even with China, makes it a $2 billion film. But it does, Rob, to me, make a movie that was already going to be a big financial success even bigger. How big of an influence and how big of a deal do you think it is that China's going to be showing Avatar 2?
Well, the Chinese, first of all, they like their science fiction, but this is like a Chinese wet dream. The evil American capitalists exploit the indigenous people so they can get their profits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this movie's come on, workers unite. But the I think it's important for the film because look, the Chinese market's huge, even though we get probably less than 50% of the box office, it still is big money. And the Chinese release, as we talked about on this show, can, whether it's 100 million, 200 million, however much it is, it's still significant. You're taking home a big number, and it's rising that box office number up. And with day and date with the American release, this is going to be a big opening weekend. 3D is still big in China. I think this is this movie. It's just added to the prestige. I would like to up the global. I could see this movie making 400 or 500 million global the opening weekend.
Chris, what about you? You're looking at this. How big of a deal is the Chinese release, or is it not that big?
It's a huge deal, especially since so many other films haven't been able to tap into that market recently because of how strict they've been. Now, we still have people under COVID protocols, particularly around Beijing, so that could be problematic in getting people into the theaters. But if you can get butts in seats, this means a lot of money for this movie. Because, yeah, to Rob's point, oh my gosh, the evils of capitalism? Go see this.
And the evil capitalists are back.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, it's the global government. But So let me put it to each of you. I'm saying that, well, I think this movie is going to be a ridiculously financially successful. I don't quite think it's going to become the 6th film in history to be joined the $2 billion club. Again, I reserve the right to change my mind once I see it. But for right now, where we are, where we're sitting with the information we have on hand, Rob, does Avatar: The Way of Water make $2 billion?
Well, conventional wisdom would say that's a big number that not a lot of movies in history have made. But it's Jimmy C. And I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, Jimmy has 2 of the 5 films that have made $2 billion, with the first Avatar and Titanic. So I know, Chris, does Avatar: The Way of Water make $2 billion?
Yeah, I'm an optimist, sure.
Okay, I'm still going to say on the no. I think it's going to come around 1.6, 1.7, 1.8. But
if he lets us down, though, look, the movie has to be, I say this with a caveat.
Yeah.
The movie has to be
If it's
good.
trash, then
and
no.
like you said, you reserve your judgment. I, too, will change my opinion if I see the film and think, it's not going to make it. Have to see it to have a final.
Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? How big of a deal is the fact that Avatar: The Way of Water is going to get a release in China? I mean, several $100 million will be at play here. Do you think that'll be enough for this to be a $2 billion film? Do you think Avatar: The Way of Water will be the 6th $2 billion film in history? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, we are now going to move over and take your live comments and questions. If you're watching live right now and you've got a thought, theory, opinion, or question that you'd like us to address, we are now opening up the super chats for just a few minutes, and now is your chance to throw those in, and we will address those in the next part of the show. Now, before we get to those, though, we want to take another minute and thank my mobile service provider, Ryan Reynolds' Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months free. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home with eSIM while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Guys, you know I've been using Mint Mobile long before this holiday deal, and I have to say, it is the perfect time to switch. Since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been spending 1/3 of what I used to spend on my mobile service with the other big name company. And with this buy 3 months, get 3 months free, not only is it a great choice for you, but it makes great gifts for the people you love. Mint Mobile's best offer of the year is here. By going online only and with eSIM and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes those significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. Or if you need a new device, for a limited time, get 6 months of free service when you buy a selected device and plan. So guys, for a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So go down to the description of the video, and right at the top, you're going to see links to all of our sponsors and the promo codes. And again, thank you to Mint Mobile. All right, guys. With that down, let's get over and take your live comments and questions you guys have been asking. So, Alou, what do we got?
Let's see. We got J Master with some support there. And
Thank
we
you,
have
J-Master.
Mark 24 Gaming with some support.
Thank you, guys.
Bond Presents says, I think Andor perfectly tied up Cassian's arc in the show. The last line.
Stop. Yeah, let's start. We got to move on. Yep.
Ben
All right.
Rain.
Before you said I was right.
Ben Rayner says, hey guys, with the Bob's change up over or under 90%, we get a heap full of in-jokes from Deadpool about the situation in Deadpool 3. So many timelines, so many Bobs, too many to keep up.
You know what? Okay. Deadpool, there's a train of thought that says, oh, there's definitely going to be a Bob switchover joke and whatever. But, I think a lot of the jokes in Deadpool and a lot of the jabbing has always been fun, friendly. I don't know that Ryan Reynolds is going to have Deadpool take a very personal jab at an individual who, by the way, the Deadpool 3 movie got greenlit. Now, while I contend it has been in the works for a very, very long time, it ultimately got the green light from Bob Chapek. So for the movie to take a kind of mean-spirited attack, which there's no other way to do it, which I don't think they will. I don't think they'll make a Bob Chapek.
It's also
Plus,
just,
it'll also date the movie.
yeah,
You know?
it's that, and it's so inside baseball. Most people watching that aren't going to be like, oh, yes, because the CEO was changed by another. Like, people don't follow that like we do.
Yeah, I agree. All right, what's next?
Hero75 says there has been confirmed talks for a while of Apple sponsoring a ride at Epcot or the entire park so they can show off their tech, but each time the talks fail. I could see that before they buy Disney.
I mean, but that's just a business arrangement between two individual companies, right? So yeah, absolutely, I could see that. And again, I do not believe that Disney is going to be selling itself to Apple. I do not believe that at all. But I'm just saying is, for those who do believe it, there is enough facts there that makes it not crazy to believe that it could happen. So we'll see.
It's funny. When I was a kid, I first went to Disneyland, and I was really little, and all the rides were presented by different companies. Like Voyage Through Inner Space is sponsored by Monsanto, and I'm like, what was Monsanto? And as a kid, of course, they're a chemical company and all that, but they were sponsored rides.
Yeah, especially like Tomorrowland.
Even Small World, I think, is still sponsored by Siemens or whatever.
By
Yeah.
what?
Siemens,
Oh,
S-I-E-M.
yeah. Okay.
Now, is it
Very good.
true that they're taking the water out of It's a Small World and they're making it a walking attraction?
Oh, I didn't hear
Oh,
that.
I thought I heard that.
Yeah, I
would-
think I read
Even
I
more
saw-
reason for me to never ride that stupid ride.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. I read that. I was like, that's pretty sure. I saw a video. I don't know if it's true. Please,
God.
if I'm wrong,
That's
Disney fans, don't jump all over me.
All right, what's next?
No. Al Rencha says, seeing Spirited tonight, time with family tomorrow, Knives Out 2 on Friday, Devotion on Saturday, and then back home for Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Happy holidays
Now
to
is
me.
Knives Out because of the family tomorrow? Oh, there's a comma. I see.
Oh God, yeah. Punctuation is our. You guys should watch out today. I am going to see. Oh, Ann just texted me. Apparently, it's your mom's birthday today, Ray. I forgot. Yeah, we gotta do something about that. What I can't even remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, I am going to go see Knives Out today, and Devotion today. So guys, keep your eyes on the channel a little bit later this afternoon for I will put out my right out of the theater reaction to Knives Out to Glass Onion. I'm very, very excited about, and for Devotion a little bit later today. So keep your eyes open for that. All right, what's next?
Cosmic says, happy early Thanksgiving, Campea crew. Hope you guys have a wonderful time with your family over the holidays. And what are you guys thankful for? Aw.
Oh, thank you very much for that, Cosmics. Yeah, I will get to spend it with my married family. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to spend the time with my family, who is of course up in Canada and stuff like that. Hopefully, I'll get to see them next month. Man, what am I not thankful for? I'm thankful for I don't want to sound cliche. I'm thankful for everything. I'm like every day I wake up, and I started an exercise a few years ago Some of you guys might remember somebody wrote in and suggested this thing I started doing. It's like, kind of start your day just thinking about things you're grateful for that you have in your life. And I kind of do that a little bit most days. And I think we're very, very lucky people. I know you guys got family plans. You just went to go see family.
Yeah, I just went and saw my family, which I'm very grateful I got to do because my dad had knee surgery. So I got to surprise him while he was all goofed up on painkillers and was like, why are you here? It was great. And I'm cooking turkey both Thursday and Friday. I'm cooking 2 different birds for 2 different groups of people. So,
Wow.
Yeah,
It's a lot of oven time.
it is. One of them I'm going to sous vide, Ray. I'm going to be real fancy.
What about you, Rob?
Well, you know what? Whenever anybody asks me that question, this is not political, but I'm just happy that I exist because I was adopted, and I did meet my biological mother, and the circumstances around my birth could have gone differently. So I'm happy to be here.
Good to know. All right. What's next?
J Master says, Chris, the extended edition of the Muppet Christmas Carol, restored in 4K with the song When Love Is Gone, finally added back in, will release on December 9th on Disney+.
I'm so excited about this, J Master, and I fight with my best friend about this all the time because she thinks the song is trash, and it is important to the narrative of the film. It never should have been removed. It's very important, and I'm very passionate about it, and I will be playing that movie on a loop.
Is it? I've never seen this one. I think it's the only Muppet movie I never saw.
Oh my! This
Is
is
it the one with Michael Caine?
Yes, it's the best Christmas Carol adaptation. I don't.
Really?
Yes, and it's because
Yeah.
Michael Caine treats the Muppets like performers, where so they're not Muppets; they're Shakespearean level actors, and you will be treating them as such. It's brilliantly done, and that song is very important.
All right. What's next?
Actually, All Dogs Go to Heaven Christmas Carol's pretty darn good.
Alu, are we gonna fight today? Oh shit!
All Dogs Christmas Carol. Look it up. Now, Aiden Foley says, got a job at Universal Orlando, so here's some support. Love the show as always, guys. You are the best.
Oh, well, first of all, that's awesome that you got a job. You know, it's funny how many people in my life and that I've worked with have worked at theme parks because, Chris, you have worked
I worked at Disney as a character.
as there.
Wendy.
Wendy, my former
Universal.
assistant, now one half of the movie Couple on YouTube.
Roca
She-
worked at Universal.
What's
I
that?
worked at Universal.
Roca worked at
Yeah,
Universal.
I actually still remember I walked in and Roca was in the wand shop. He was the guy doing
Right.
the things in the wand shop.
Oh,
and
fun.
he was so it's great. You're walking in the footprints of great people before you, man. I'm glad you got that job there.
I worked at Universal
Did you
for a
work at
little bit.
Universal
Yeah, I was
too?
a character attendant for like a day. But
All right. What's next?
all right. Dumbrador says, go get a foldable phone, John. I got a Galaxy Z Fold 4, and I love how big the screen is. I can't even do a Note anymore. It's too small to satisfy me now.
I'll tell you what, Dumbledore,
It's not the size of the phone. It's the
Yeah, I would love one of the foldables, not the flip ones, the
Yeah.
foldable ones. The idea of you able to walk around with a tablet in my pocket. I still think they need a little refinement.
yeah. I'm waiting for like the 5 or 6 fold.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're getting close though.
Yeah.
The newest generations look really good. I still think they need some refinement. The other problem is right now I am kind of, while I prefer Android, I completely do, I am kind of locked into the Apple ecosystem right now because I've got my MacBook right here. I've got my Mac Studio on my desk in there. I've got a MacBook Pro at home. I've got an iPad. Listen, as much as I prefer Android, the Apple stuff works really well together. Yeah. And so for at least the time being, I'm trapped in. But once they make those refinements on the foldable stuff, that's when I'm going to be looking very seriously at switching back to Android. Like very seriously. All right, what's next?
Oh, Ryan Trabuco gifted 5 memberships just now.
Hey, Ryan. Thank you so
thanks,
much,
man.
man. That's awesome, dude. That's great. Thank you so much.
Someone
Okay,
asked me
what's
what
next?
T-shirt I'm wearing. It says Loki Charms.
Silly.
Loki Charms.
Suthia says, I understand why people can't tell the difference between Clark Kent and Superman. Just look at the John Campea show. You guys have both Chris Carr and Zooey Deschanel.
Aw, Theus, you little charmer.
That's because I know my fellow Canadians, the Property Brothers. They and one of course is married to Zoe Deschanel. Did you know that one of the Property Brothers?
Are
is
they married?
Yeah, I think they are married.
Oh, I watched so much Property Brothers this weekend with my parents.
They have like 8 different Property Brothers shows. Like they
Yeah.
have Property Brothers Forever Home, Property Brothers Buy and Sell, Property Brothers.
There's the celebrity one because we watched
Yeah.
the Leslie Jordan one. Oh, he was such a good man.
I remember the first time I realized that they were together, and it was at the Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker premiere, and we got out of our limo and we were staying in line and getting out of the limo. Well, right in front of us was Kathleen Kennedy, and then right behind us was the Property Brothers. and Zoe Deschanel was with. I'm like, is that Zoe Deschanel with what? Is that like New Girl with one of the Property Brothers?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, they've been together for a while. I'm like, really? Then I guess she's been on the Property Brothers since, and good for you,
Yeah,
Jonathan
they're
or
cute.
Drew or whichever one. And the other one is married to this like, I mean, he's kind of like me. He's married to this totally adorable little Asian girl. They're just adorable. So yeah, good to see both of those guys doing well. All right, what's next?
James Germain says, hey, John, what if Quantumanium is Kang forcing Ant-Man to steal the quantum bands?
Then Quantumania will be about Kang wanting Ant-Man to steal the quantum bands.
No, but what if?
I mean, yeah, I mean, that could be part. Listen, clearly Kang, what we've gleaned from the trailer is clearly Kang wants Ant-Man to do something for him. Because we see in the trailer, he's trying to make a bargain. I can help you get home. I can do this and this. So what do you say, Ant-Man? But what we don't know is what's the other side of that bargain. So, I mean, that could be part of it. It absolutely could be. All right. Especially if Quasar is part of it. Then that even makes that fit even more. Okay. What's next?
Chef Riga.
Chef Rigo.
Oh,
Being head chef equals in charge of the Bluetooth speaker in the kitchen and making everyone listen to the John Campea show. Need to educate my staff.
oh,
That's right. Bring some sophistication.
Sorry we say fuck so much.
Oh, it's in the
Man.
kitchen. It's not in the restaurant. They're fine. They're fine.
They're okay.
We got to go back and eat there soon.
It was so good.
Yeah, it's
So
such a
good.
good place to go.
Shogun.
All right, what's next?
Stubble McShave says, Rob, the streaming Santa of sci-fi. It seems like the real Santa arrived early and left something at your door. Hope you like it.
Really? Is that true?
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Stubble
We haven't stopped by your house.
Stubble has sent me things in the past.
Oh.
He sent me Wheel of Time novels in hardcover.
Did you give out your physical address to somebody online?
Well, I have a long-standing relationship with Stubble.
Okay.
He's not just some rando.
not okay.
Send your scripts.
Okay, but good to know.
I've
Good
known
to
him for
know.
years now.
Okay.
I
well, that's
trust
good to
Stubble.
know. All right,
Stubble's
what's
a good
next?
man.
That's why
By the
you
way,
call him
don't write me and ask for my address.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, we'll give it to you. You don't have to bother
No
Rob.
problem.
Rail,
Yeah,
Rail handed out,
along
no
with the
problem.
place to send your script.
All right, what's next?
CJ Rebirth says, heart don't fail. Oh.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm going to try not to sing. I'm going to sing it. Okay. Heart, don't fail me now. Courage, don't desert me. Anastasia turns 25 this week. And rest in peace to Aaliyah, who did the end credits song. That is one of my favorite fucking
It's
movies.
Wait a
so
minute. That
good.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
to sing the intro to the show every day.
I love that movie. I'm a huge Disney fan, but like that movie tops probably like, oh man, maybe
It's
90%
so
of the Disney
good.
animated
Wow.
movie. It's
Yeah.
so good. And Don Bluth was an animator for Disney back in the day, so obviously it had that woo, it's so good.
I just can't get over how great that was. That was amazing.
Don
All right.
Bluth. Don Bluth, shout out Dragon's Lair.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's next?
Wraith times 7 says, do you guys think that Black Adam might do better on VOD and become a cult favorite film in the years to come after it hits streaming and TV?
Oh,
video on demand.
you're mistaking today for the 90s. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, no.
Actually, it's funny because I think it was Matt Damon did this. I think Matt Damon was on Hot Ones.
Yep.
And he gave this great breakdown about how that doesn't happen anymore. And the unfortunate part of that being the case is that it affects certain types of movies that can make it. But yeah, the days, it's not even recently, the days of a movie can really make a big surge on VOD. Like a lot of people write in and say, I like over the years say, hey, John, do you see that this movie is like the #1 chart on VOD? It's like, yeah, that's great that you're #1, but what #1 means today is very different than what #1 meant like in the late 90s or early 90s. It's not something that happens anymore. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't find a better appreciation amongst people and all that kind of stuff. But the days that VOD and everything saves a movie later, I'm sure it's not 0% of the time, but it's very, very low.
Also, if Black Adam were better, maybe, but I don't think it has the qualities to turn it into a cult hit.
No, it's a fun movie.
It is fun.
I saw it a number of times. Very fun, but you're right. It doesn't have those qualities to be an enduring cult hit kind of thing. All right, what's
no
next?
tough turf.
Super Crazy Movie Geek says, are y'all okay with more Indiana Jones with de-aged Harrison Ford?
It all just depends on the story. Listen, I'll tell you what, though. It'd be kind of silly to bet against it because one of the best directors in the world right now, James Mangold, is directing it. And if he's directing it, I mean, this is the guy who gave us Ford v Ferrari. This is the guy who gave us Logan. I trust this guy. He makes great stuff. So, yeah, I mean, look, do I like the digital de-aging stuff and all that kind of stuff? But it's like anything else. It's a tool. You can use it properly, and we've seen when it hasn't been used properly. So it all depends.
Plus, it's still Harrison Ford. It's more like The Irishman. You're still watching those actors play the characters as opposed to a complete digital recreation.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good.
All right. What's next?
Jim says, have you ever been to sitcom tapings? Would love to know what it's like. E.g., what happens when an actor needs to film scenes outside the standard set?
Oh, it is rough. It is rough. They usually give you pizza because they're trying to win you over. It's a long night. Tuck in.
What have you been there for?
I went for Craig Robinson's show because my friend was working on it and was like, do you guys want to come by? And then like a quarter of the way through filming, he comes out and was like, you guys want me to just let you go walk around the set? And I was like, yeah, I want to do that instead. There were some actors who did not have their ish together and seemed a little inebriated and all kinds of stuff. It's a long time, but you're there and you do like the laughing and somebody warms you up and everything to talk about like when you're going to react and to have those reactions and blah, 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 blah.
It is a pretty interesting experience, though, to see if you want to see the process.
Yeah. I had way more fun though, because then we got to just sneak out and we walked around and we were in, we went and saw the Back to the Future Tower and everything. And there was no one there watching us. It was the best. It was a great date.
Why am I freezing on his name? Norm Macdonald. I've never been to a sitcom taping, but back when the
Dora crew, he lost to now that he has taken the super soldier serum.
one-on-one, yes, with the super soldier serum, he can go toe-to-toe with Dora Milaje. Like, I wouldn't guarantee a win. Can he go against 2 or 3? No.
And their fighting techniques. I mean, he's a soldier. He wasn't trained to use those pikes. They'd probably kick his ass.
I mean, look at Okoye. She fought like 3 Tolosians and who are superpower and stuff like that, and she did quite well. So
Yeah.
I say he could fight one of them. I don't know that he could fight a couple.
And the
of them.
Dora Milaje, they did fight aliens when they were invaded.
Oh yeah, no problem.
So
without even blinking.
yeah.
All right, what's next?
Jake Vidmar says, this has probably already been talked about, but is there a significant chance that Christopher Nolan will return as a WB regular because of the Zaslav leadership?
Maybe. Here's the thing. I don't think we're ever going to get back to the day where Christopher Nolan straight up made his films with Warner Brothers, period. I don't think that'll happen. But can I see him doing more projects with Warner Brothers in the future? I mean, if he's sitting down and breaking bread and having lunch with Zaslav, why not? So yes, but not back to the time where he's only making movies under the Warner Brothers banner. I think those days are gone. All right, what's next?
CJ Rebert says, all right, roll call. Are K-Riz, Raybert, Jahan, Ty Lee, and Alu here today? What?
It's gotta be
Is
the
that a-
Aaron.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that
oh,
the Key and
yeah.
Peele thing?
Oh, I get a roll call here.
I mean,
Don't
Ray
mess with me because I'm for real.
Ray does call me Chris. So,
K-Riz.
All right, what's next?
Dumbledore says, it would be perfectly ironic if Elton John was playing I'm Still Standing after Chapek got fired.
Oh boy.
Yeah, not so much. What was it Cliff was saying that, one of the really unfortunate things about this is that Elton John will forever be ruined for Bob Chapek now. Bob Chapek will never be able to listen to Elton John again. All right, what's next?
Orlando Rodriguez says, will Disney pull Avatar in 45 days for Disney Plus, or will they let it stay in theaters like Maverick so it can stay longer and make $2 billion plus? If not, then it has no chance.
Well, look, here's the reality though. After 45 days, how much money is it actually making? Like once you get to the 6-week mark, how much is it actually making in theaters that weekend? It's probably still trickling in some money, but I honestly think it's going to do the 45 days. Now, that being said, if they get to week 5 and it's still making $21 million in a weekend, which I do not think it will, but if it does, yeah, you're not going to see them pull it out anytime quick. But they're going to want to get it onto Disney Plus when they can. But they will definitely keep the theatrical window. But I don't know if they'll go much beyond it. What do you think?
Well, it depends how it's doing. You know, I think that after Top Gun Maverick's performance has happened, I think they'll take a good hard look and see how much money the movie's earning every week.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Mickey Veach says, from a certain point of view, the Chapek Iger saga is basically the plot of Rocky V.
Oh, gosh, it kind of is. So who's Tommy Gunn in this situation?
Old lion versus young lion. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, man, there is going to be a movie made about this someday. Because again, this is like some real world Succession shit going on. Like this is like really, I cannot, to be a fly on the wall in Burbank right now, in those Disney offices, I would love to know what's actually going on behind the scenes. All right, what's next?
Who should play who character if they made a movie like next year? Tom Hanks is Iger.
Oh, that would work.
The Swifties say, Planet Terror, Planet Sex sounds like a great combo.
Oh, that's because that's the name of Cara Delevingne's.
Well, by title, but I think it'll be completely different.
Yeah. They're very different viewing experiences.
Not your regular grindhouse kind of feature, I don't think. Very, very different.
It depends on what kind of grindhouse.
I suppose. All right, what's next?
Oh, boy.
Dialdar says, can't wait for Avatar 2. All hail the mighty blue cat butts.
I mean, listen, I wish the trailers had done more to get me excited. It is beautiful, though. I mean, it looks beautiful. The visuals are going to be stunning. I cannot wait to visually take it all in. But I don't think they've done a great job with their marketing. I really don't.
Well, originally it was just going to be Cameron. He's like, look, it's too long. It's not Marvel.
But it opens on the 16th. Yeah. What are you going to do? I mean, yeah. So, but I am looking forward to it, though. All right. What's next?
Suthia says, I rewatched Rogue One, and sure enough, one of the sergeants of the rebels is indeed Melshi, the one who got away with Andor in episode 10.
Yeah, I remember when the first episode in the prison happened, I had a bunch of people say, John, did you not recognize blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I did not recognize that. But it came out and that became kind of a pivotal thing and kind of added a lot more weight to that one scene in last week's episode when they were kind of standing there and saying their goodbyes. It meant a lot, actually. So yeah, and it makes me wonder how many other little details were in there that are ties into Rogue One that maybe we'd missed. All right, what's next?
Excalibur says, what's your take on The Chosen placing top 3 at last weekend's box office?
I mean, it made $8 million, which for a property like that is great. I mean, it's not like it shook the world. It made $8 million. So but really, bottom line is I don't care. I don't give two nuggets of feces about faith-based stuff.
Come on, man, don't bet against a big guy.
Let's just listen.
The big guy God.
It was me. It's just that whole thought of mine. I mean, the closest thing I've come to liking a faith-based movie was Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I really quite like Prince of Egypt.
What about Ben-Hur?
What about the 10 Commandments?
But see, Ben-Hur,
Like 90s.
Ten Commandments, those were Hollywoodifications of classic biblical stories, but
Dude,
they were
Ben-Hur's
not.
exactly the way it happened.
There's a very different,
Rob was there.
There's a Rob was. Oh my God!
Boom. Boom roasted.
What was Moses like? But here's the thing: there's a
you.
difference between faith-based movies and movies based on biblical stories. And it was, and ironically enough, it was, I mean, many of you guys know this, my distaste and hatred of faith-based movies came from when I was in Bible college and seminary. I mean, my buddies in Bible college and seminary were like, man, faith-based movies suck. And
Left Behind as Nicolas Cage.
No, did it have Nicolas Cage?
Didn't one of them? Didn't
No,
it?
I think you're talking about the not Full House.
Growing Pains.
Kirk
Kirk
Cameron.
No, they did the series and then they did a movie.
Oh, did they? And that had
Right?
Nicolas Cage in
Wasn't
it?
Nicolas?
I don't know. I know Kirk Cameron was big on those.
Yeah.
No, but then they did the.
Oh no. I googled Nick Cage Jesus and I've seen enough.
I've seen too much.
What about the wondrous classic Passion of the Christ, which they made us watch in Bible school for some reason?
Boo.
All All right, what's
I
next?
was like, this isn't appropriate. Okay, Stubble McShave says, I wonder how Mon Mothma situation develops for season 2.
Oh, well, again, we can't go into speculations about anything that happens in
Dude.
the episode, but I mean, first of all, the number of characters that they have made, I mean, from Bix to Cassian himself, Cassian's mother, Luthen, the shop girl that works with Luthen, Mon Mothma's cousin. I mean, this show is so riddled with rich characters, and Mon Mothma is right up there. Her sub story in this show has been amazing, and the way it ends in this episode, we're going to talk about it, of course, more in the open spoiler discussion. But it's great. All right, what's next?
Seconds from Disaster says there's a theory in the Ant-Man 3 trailer when they show that light over Jan Van Dyne split off into the quantum tunnels. That could be the Avengers time traveling in Endgame. What do you think?
Every time there's a Marvel movie coming out, there's some little detail where everybody thinks and it's some huge thing. I don't think so. I mean, hey, listen, I won't put it by them but I personally don't think so. Do you know what they're talking about?
But wouldn't this take place after they're traveling through Endgame? I mean,
Yes, but when you're going through the quantum realm, time and space are
maybe
undefined.
Wibbly wobbly.
that. I mean, there could be lots of things happening there.
All right, what's next?
Alex Meza says, could Apple just buy certain assets? Like maybe just buy some of the Fox IP that Disney isn't super interested in?
Well, I mean, of course they could be, but is Disney interested in selling off any pieces of things they own? The one bit of whisper going around is that maybe ESPN, that maybe they're looking at spinning off ESPN. That could be one, but other than that, they just spent $72 billion to acquire all that stuff. They're not looking to turn around and sell that.
I could see Apple buy ESPN.
I mean, yeah, that's one thing, right? ESPN,
that would
work.
fit right into their here. Watch ESPN on our devices.
Yep,
It could, but they've also had a lot of issues with antitrust stuff lately. Do they want to get into all that again?
Right, that's true too.
But the antitrust would only really come into play if Apple already had its own sports broadcasting sort of thing, right? This would be like a new area for them. So I don't know if antitrust would come in, but you're right. It's something they'd have to be very careful of. All right, what's next?
Late Night Alum says, shout out to Erin on Sex Lives of College Girls. Hey.
Erin's on that?
Hey, oh, my friends.
That's why she wasn't in.
I'm always, I guess, because right now she's been doing a lot lately because she's in FBI Most Wanted. She's
Nancy Drew.
She's a recurring on Nancy Drew.
She did SWAT.
She was in SWAT recently. She was also in The Rookie recently.
Yeah.
And whatever this is, I mean, she was in Sex. What did she have a part?
Isn't that the
Apparently.
Mindy Kaling show?
Yeah.
Is Minnie Kaling the one behind that?
She's the producer of it.
I thought she was the one doing that. Never Have I ever.
That
doing
too.
both.
Yeah.
Oh, she's doing both.
I have friends on both those shows. Yeah.
You know, there's one of our best friends. You know, Spencer and Laura. So Laura is the unit publicist photographer for Never Have I Ever. So she's on set every day with the cast doing all the promotional publicity photography. She's a world-class photographer. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Wraith times 7 says William Jackson Harper could be playing Marvel Boy, who wore the quantum bands before Quasar.
Yeah.
Possibly, but again, what I was told was that it was specifically Vaughn. That it specifically was Vaughn. So maybe yes, maybe no.
And I don't necessarily know if they would put Marvel Boy in this when you have the Marvels coming out later.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, what's next?
Egeon says with a $20 super chat.
Thank you, Egeon.
From my understanding, after Sony made Bloodshot, they were going to do a Valiant cinematic universe. Then Paramount acquired the rights to do their own version of the live-action comic universe. Where are those movies?
Well, hold a second. Let me pull this up because I might have an answer for you. So, yes, Bloodshot came out. And where those movies are is that they're sitting at the bottom of a bank account somewhere because Bloodshot itself only made $39 million worldwide. Made $12 million domestically. Not $12 million opening day, not $12 million opening weekend. Total $12 million, $27 million international, 39 million worldwide. Now, granted, there was some pandemic stuff or whatever. I can't remember how far before that was or not, but still, nobody cared about it. The movie wasn't very. And again, I say this is a big Vin Diesel fan. I love the guy, and so I was excited for this. But yeah, I think that probably put the brakes on a lot of stuff.
Well, again, I like the Valiant universe, but you can't plan on making a cinematic universe. You have to plan on making one movie great. And
Yeah.
if that movie works, then maybe you can make a second movie. And if that second movie works, then move forward. But this idea that everyone's like, we're going to have a cinematic universe. Yeah, don't catch your chickens before they hatch, buddy.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people are like, oh, well, the MCU worked because they planned it and they had, Nick Fury coming at the end of Iron Man. No. The reason the Marvel Cinematic Universe was able to come into existence is because the first Iron Man movie was beloved and people loved it. That's the only formula. Make good stuff. If you make great movies on their own, independently, you make great movies, you get a lot of options open up to you and a lot of good things can happen. But the MCU didn't come into existence because they had Nick Fury popping at the end. It came into existence because people loved the first
You
Iron Man.
didn't even need that. If that didn't even exist, the movie still would have made
It
the same
still
amount
would
of
have
money.
rolled in. Yep, the MCU still wouldn't fall. And if Iron Man had flopped and people hated it, I'm not saying they wouldn't have moved ahead with their plans, but it would have moved ahead differently. Because coming out of the gate, and Bloodshot didn't exactly create fertile ground for growing a cinematic franchise.
No.
All right, how many more we got left here?
This is the last
All right, what's next?
plus support.
Motossum says Marvel Zombies was announced in Comic-Con as TVMA.
Yeah, but it's animated, so it's not real.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things you could do with that, but I really doubt it's going to be full blown TVMA. But never know. Who knows? But I doubt it. And again, you're right. They will take a different approach with it. They will look at it a little bit differently if it's animated.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
things you can get away with more in animation than you can.
I mean, you have zombies. There are going to be people getting eaten.
Yeah.
You can't get away from that. So, and then you've got, shambling Deadpool.
And there's a difference. Again, with all due respect to animation, I'm just saying there's an impact difference if you see an animated zombie character eating the flesh of something versus watching a live action adaptation of somebody actually holding down a screaming little girl and then ripping her throat out. There's a difference impact that makes depending on the medium. So, All right. What's next? Do we just got some support there?
Yeah, we got some support from VexX Cosmos and from Freedo Valcos.
Thank you guys so much for that. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to those of you who sent in the super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Once again, a couple of reminders. Later today at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time, that's 6 p.m. New York time, we'll be having our Andor season finale, open spoiler discussion after show. Make sure you guys come back and join us for that. And again, a little programming note, there is a John Campea show tomorrow. It's just going to be me, and it's going to be at 9 a.m. starting time, just a special starting time for tomorrow at 9 a.m., and then we'll be back to our regular 10:30 a.m. starting time on Friday. Guys, for everybody in the room, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, Chris Carr, haven't joined you guys in the live chat, Ray Ora, back there is Taylor, Jonathan Voico running the show today, and Alu Moana. My name is John Campea. Thanks a lot for being here, guys, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.